or he should reject the application. He has to do any of the act of either granting registration or rejecting it, but simply he can't sit on the application. So once the application has been filed, if within a prescribed time limit no action is taken by the prescribed officer, automatically it is deemed that registration has been granted. Now, within what time the proper officer has to take action? Suppose at the time of filing the application itself, this person who has applied has undergone the successful authentication of Aadhaar, or that fellow is exempt from going through the Aadhaar authentication process. Who is exempt from going through the Aadhaar authentication process? That a non-resident fellow. So, barring a non-resident fellow or barring those persons who are required to go through the Aadhaar authentication process, if anyone goes through successfully Aadhaar authentication process, then within a period of 3 working days, the action has to be taken by the proper officer. Else, the registration is deemed to have been granted. Suppose the person who made the application fails the Aadhaar authentication, or he does not opt for Aadhaar authentication, then within a period of 21 days, the proper officer has to take action. If not, within 21, on expiry of 21 days, the application is deemed to have been granted registration. Okay, now suppose an application has been filed. The proper officer asks for certain information or documents from the applicant. Okay. The SSE has submitted the information or documents which have been asked from. So from the date of submission of such additional information or documents, within a period of 7 working days, action has to be taken. So basically, if Aadhaar authentication is done within 3 working days, you will be deemed to have been registered. Aadhaar authentication not done, 21 days. Additional information is asked for. If your Aadhaar authentication is successful, within 3 days you should be asked additional information. You will be given a particular time in that notice. Once you have submitted the information, then what will happen? Within 7 working days, they have to take action. Else, your application is deemed to have been approved. Right. Normally, prior to the introduction of this Aadhaar authentication, the GST registration was simple. You will go into the gst.gov.in. You will select the category of taxpayer. You have part A, you have part B. In part A, you will be asked the email ID, phone number, PAN number, right? And certain other 2 or 3 items you will be asked. Your email ID and mobile number will be verified by OTPs. You will be given a temporary reference number. With the temporary reference number, you will log into the site. Part B will flash and you will fill the part B. And you will submit the application. But so this is a simple process. Now there are worst fellows also, in addition to good fellows like me in our country. There are some worst fellows. They have started misusing this simple registration process also. They will create fake accounts. With the fake accounts, they will give ineligible input credit to other fellows, and they will run away. They will run away. So, in order to curb this type of misuse, what they have done, they have introduced this Aadhaar eKYC. They have introduced this Aadhaar eKYC from 21st of August 2020. If you are a new applicant applying for registration on and from 21st August 2020, for you are required to mandatorily go for Aadhaar authentication. Now, this Aadhaar authentication process is applicable for everyone, like a normal taxpayer, casual taxpayer, composition taxpayer, input service distributor, SEG developer, SEZ unit. For all of them, Aadhaar authentication is made mandatory, but for one fellow, Aadhaar authentication is not mandatory. Who is that worst fellow? That worst fellow is non-resident Indian. Why Aadhaar authentication is not made applicable for him? Because he may not be eligible to get Aadhaar. Suppose I don't want to reveal my Aadhaar, or somehow my Aadhaar authentication process failed because I did not register my mobile number in Aadhaar. Whatever mobile number I gave in the Aadhaar, that phone number, that phone SIM I have lost. I did not go to the Aadhaar center again and I did not get my mobile number updated. There may be various reasons because of which my Aadhaar authentication has failed. Then in such a case, for new registration, what will happen is there is some other way of verifying this fellow. They will be physically verified by this tax department. Okay, they will be physically verified by the tax department, or sometimes they will be granted registration based upon certain documents which have been produced. Now this is with regard to from August 2020, this is with regard to new applications. Then what about the already existing registered fellows? There might be thieves, there might be dacoits, there might be worst fellows in already registered taxpayers, right? So for them, what will happen is they should also go through the Aadhaar authentication process. After some time, if they do not get themselves authenticated for Aadhaar, what will happen is their registration will be invalidated. Now, they are not yet commenced, they have not yet commenced the invalidating of the Aadhaar. They have not yet commenced the invalidating of the registration of the existing registered persons. They have not yet invoked that provisions. Now, who have to go through the Aadhaar authentication process? What are these? What are the provisions have been given in 25 subsection 6A, 6B and 6C. New application shall go Aadhaar authentication process or it should furnish the proof of Aadhaar. Now, where applicant opts for authentication of Aadhaar number, he shall, while submitting an application for registration, should undergo authentication of Aadhaar. Authentication of Aadhaar is required for grant of registration. Okay, give me a second. Now, for grant of registration, Aadhaar authentication is required. Okay. Now, what will be the date of submission of registration application in respect of Aadhaar authentication? The date of authentication of Aadhaar will be deemed to be the date on which you have applied for registration. If you do not go for Aadhaar authentication, then 15 days from the submission of application in part B of GST REG 1 will be the date of submission of application. Because from here, within 3 days, if you get Aadhaar authentication, registration is to be granted. If Aadhaar authentication not made, 21 days from this date, from the date of submission of application. What is date of submission of application? Date of authentication of Aadhaar number will be date of submission of application. If you don't do that, it will be 15 days from part B. 15 days from submission of part B. Next, suppose you are an individual. You will authenticate your Aadhaar number. But what if the applicant is a non-individual? If the applicant is a non-individual, if the applicant is a karta, then Aadhaar authentication, the applicant is an HUF, then Aadhaar authentication is to be made for karta. If the applicant is a company, whole-time director or managing director, if the applicant is a partnership firm, specified number of partners, if the applicant is a society, somebody else, if the applicant is a trust, someone else. Okay, like this, if the applicant is not an individual, these respective fellows should go for Aadhaar authentication. Now, what will happen if the persons are already registered? If the persons are already registered, Aadhaar authentication should be done within the prescribed time limit. Now, let us say I have no Aadhaar. Then I should be offered an alternative method of identification. Okay. Suppose I fail to undergo Aadhaar authentication, or I do not opt for Aadhaar number, then I will be granted registration only after physical verification of my principal place of business. However, in certain cases, instead of physical verification, the proper officer may grant the registration even after verification of certain documents that are deemed to be fit. But to do this, he has to record the reasons in writing and take the approval of an officer not below the rank of Joint Commissioner. Suppose I have made an application for registration, but the application is somehow not complete in all respects. My application is not complete in all respects. Then the officer can issue a show cause notice calling for clarification, calling for information or documents. It should be done within 21 days from the date of my submission of application. What do you mean by date of submission of application? If you authenticate your Aadhaar, date of authentication of Aadhaar, else 15 days from the date of submission of part B of REG 1. You are already registered person, you are not going for Aadhaar authentication, right? Or your Aadhaar authentication fails. Then what will happen? You should be given another viable method of verification, means physical verification. Now, sometimes instead of physical verification, the proper officer may also rely upon or depend upon certain documents. Right? Now, what will happen if already registered persons do not go for Aadhaar authentication, or they do not provide or go for any alternative means of verification? Then their registration will be invalidated, and that person will be deemed that he is not having any registration. Now, they are not yet invalidating the registrations. We don't know when they will start invalidating the registrations. We don't know as of now. Okay. But as of now, for new registration, this Aadhaar authentication process has been enabled. Now, the government has the power to notify certain classes of persons or to certain states or certain union territories to which this Aadhaar authentication is not mandatory. Okay, who are they? A person who is not a citizen of India. A person who is not a citizen of India. No need of Aadhaar authentication. Any person other than the following requires no Aadhaar authentication. Who are they? Individual. So any person other than individual does not require Aadhaar authentication. If you are a partnership firm, how can you get yourself Aadhaar authentication? You can't get that. If you are a company, how will you get your Aadhaar authentication? You will not be having any Aadhaar. So how will you be authenticated for Aadhaar? You can't be done. So for individual, Aadhaar authentication is required. Authorized signatory. If you are an authorized signatory, you should get Aadhaar authentication. X & Co is a partnership firm in which X is a partner and an authorized signatory. Now that authorized signatory X is an individual. He will have Aadhaar. He should get that Aadhaar authentication. Managing and authorized partner, Karta of HUF. Now, these people should definitely get Aadhaar authentication. Any person other than these peoples, no need. Any person other than these four, no need of authentication. If you are not a citizen of India also, no need. Next. Persons to whom Aadhaar authentication shall apply. Means these four people. For these four people, Aadhaar authentication apply. Other than these people, don't apply. So these four are repeated here. For these four people, Aadhaar authentication applies. Now, how does Aadhaar authentication done? What is the process or what is the procedure of Aadhaar authentication? Now, when you are filling up form B, somewhere it will ask you for Aadhaar authentication. GST registration lo Aadhaar authentication ఎప్పుడు అడుగుతుంది? పార్ట్ బి సబ్మిట్ అయిన తర్వాత పార్ట్ బి సబ్మిట్ అవుతుంది.
సబ్మిట్ చేసి ముందు క్లిక్ చేసి సబ్మిట్ చేస్తాం.
సబ్మిట్ కి ముందర అథెంటికేషన్
క్లిక్ చేస్తాం సార్. సబ్మిట్ కొట్టేస్తే లింక్ వెళ్ళిపోతుంది.
సబ్మిట్ కొడితే లింక్ వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. ఆ తర్వాత ఆ లింక్ అది చేస్తాం. రైట్. సో when you fill part A, your mobile number and email gets verified. You will get a TRN. With TRN, you will go into part B. You will fill all the part B. Okay. Once you completed filling up part B, then you have to click Aadhaar authentication button there. Once you click the Aadhaar authentication button, the link will go to that fellow. Then you have to click on submit part B. Part B will be submitted. Now a link has been sent to that person who has to get Aadhaar authentication. Now that person, what will happen is, there he will be asked to enter the Aadhaar number. Once you click that link, a screen will open. In that screen, they will ask you to fill the Aadhaar number. You have to fill the Aadhaar number. Okay. Once you have filled Aadhaar number and submit that form, a OTP will go to the mobile number which is registered in the Aadhaar. Link number will OTP will go. Now you have to enter the OTP in this screen. If it matches, if you get the OTP on the Aadhaar registered mobile number, you fill it correctly and submit it, then the Aadhaar authentication process is complete. If this is complete, that proper officer should grant you registration within 3 days. Because the date on which you authenticate the Aadhaar is deemed to be the date of submission of application. Okay. Within 3 days, that fellow should grant the application registration, or it is deemed that it is granted. Furnish the bank account details. Now, you have to give the bank details also. Now, if I am a first time registration fellow, the banker won't, I want to open a current account for my business. The banker won't open a current account in your name unless you give registration number of GST or any other proof. Right? But this registration requires a bank account number. Right? Previously, we need to give, but we used to face a problem. Then what we used to do? We used to give savings account number. Once this fellow gets registration, submit the registration certificate with the bank used to open a current account. That current account again we used to submit in the GST portal. But now what happened is, at the time of registration, you need not give the bank account number. But within 45 days from the grant of registration, you need to log into the portal and you need to give the bank account details. The account number, IFSC code and bank statement you need to upload. But this relaxation is not applicable in respect of those TDS collector, TDS deductor, or who has been granted suo motu registration. For these three people, bank account should be given at the time of registration itself. But for other people, you can apply for registration, submit the REG1 form. Once you are granted registration, within 45 days, you have to upload the bank account details. Physical verification of business premises in certain cases. Physical verification of business premises in certain cases. If the proper officer is of the opinion that physical verification of the premises is to be done, then he can go for physical verification. When can he go for physical verification? If this fellow do not opt for Aadhaar authentication, or Aadhaar authentication has failed, or he has any other reason before grant of registration, he can verify the premises, principal place of business. He should verify in the presence of that person. So that fellow should go and verify. Now, once at the time of verification, he has to collect certain documents, he has to take the photographs, and these have to be uploaded in the system, that is GST portal, within 15 days from the date of verification. Within 15 days from the date of verification, he has to upload it in the portal. That you should understand. Right. Next, issuance of registration certificate. Now, once the application has been filed, Aadhaar authentication has been done, or physical verification of the premises has been made, then a registration certificate has to be given. Now, that registration certificate should be signed by the proper officer. And the registration certificate will be in form number REG6. In that registration certificate, the principal place of business and additional place of business should be mentioned. Now, this registration certificate will not be sent to you. The registration certificate will be generated and available for download at your portal. in your portal login, in your profile menu, that registration certificate is made available for download. That registration certificate will also contain the GSTN, Goods and Service Tax Identification Number. Goods and Service Tax Identification Number that will be mentioned on the registration certificate in form number REG 6. Now, that GST number is to be communicated to the applicant within 3 days of the grant of registration. Once the registration is sanctioned, this fellow will get a mail and SMS. This fellow will get a mail and SMS with the default password. You have to log in for first time. You have to log in for first time. There will be separate login for first time login. gst.gov.in. There will be separate login for first time login. Separate login for first time login. Somewhere you will have first time login. If you are logging in for the first time, click here. This is the first time login. You have to give your GSTN number and the password will be communicated to you in the mail. Then it will ask you certain information. You have to choose your user ID, etc., etc. Then you will be logged into the system. Right? If you go to the profile, there you will be made available this what you call GST certificate, registration certificate. I will do one thing for you. I will demonstrate GST user ID password is the number. Yes, keep it down. gst.gov.in login as
Solar text.
Solar.
India, I capital. At the rate of 2.
251921. ఈ జిఎస్టి సర్టిఫికేట్ ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది? యూజర్ సర్వీసెస్ లో రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ లో ఉంటుందా?
యూజర్ సర్వీసెస్ యూ ఆర్ డౌన్లోడ్ యూజర్ సర్వీసెస్
I told you that already registered persons should do Aadhaar authentication. If you observe here, it is asking Aadhaar authentication facilities available. Would you like to authenticate Aadhaar of partner or promoter and primary authorized signatory? It is asking C. Now, if I want to authenticate now, it will take me to this page wherein it is sending, asking that whether it want to send Aadhaar authentication link. If it send Aadhaar authentication link, there I need to give my Aadhaar number and it will send a OTP to the phone number linked to my Aadhaar. If I go for upload eKYC, then it is asking for type of eKYC document. There, the eKYC document has to be given. And what is the type of eKYC document? Certain types of KYC documents are allowed, like Aadhaar enrollment number, passport, voter ID, KYC form, certificate issued by competent authority, others. Then I should upload. Previously, we learned a provision that instead of physical verification by the department proper officer, what that officer can do, that officer can verify the documents. These are the documents. What are the documents? Aadhaar enrollment number, because the Aadhaar number is not yet allotted to me. Or I can give a passport, which is a superior KYC. I can give my voter ID to identify myself. I can give a KYC form. I can give a certificate issued by a competent authority, like a member of parliament. He will give NRK, a very nice fellow on earth. He is known to me for the last several years. In that form, there will be a format, right? They have to give, or any other thing. So this is how it will be done. Services, user services, view my certificates. GST REG 6 registration certificate. Open. So this is the registration certificate. It will be in form number REG 6. Here, what is the name, etc. Address of the principal place of business will be given. Right? What is the type of registration? Regular. Okay, when it was issued, it will be there. Additional places of business will be given. So this is how you will be able to download that certificate. Not only that, this GSTN is 2 plus 10 plus 2 plus 1 means 15 digit number. This first 2 digit is the state code given by the Home Ministry. Home Ministry. For Andhra Pradesh, the state code is 37. For Telangana, the state code is 36. By seeing the GST number, you can tell to which state that fellow is registered. If the GST number commences, now I have a doubt, am I telling to myself or is somebody listening? I should go for a poll urgently. Because sometimes I will get a feeling that am I telling to myself? Excellent, excellent. Because even on a weekend, Saturday, by this time 28 people have responded. So I am very much happy that only, okay, another person has also responded. He woke up just now, right? So I am happy that 4 of you, okay, 3 of you, except 3 of you, except 2 of you, all of you have responded. There is one fellow, Veeresh Kumar is saying that he is sincerely following the class. I am not at all. Someone else gave another message. I didn't get the poll. So Veeresh is saying that he is sincerely following the class, but he could not answer because he did not get the poll. Veeresh, it is your headache, not my headache. Because most of the people have got the poll displayed on their screen, but you are unable to. There is something wrong with your installation of Zoom network, right? My suggestion is just uninstall it and install again. Sir, poll is working in my mobile. Shashikiran Reddy says that poll is working in his mobile. but he did not answer the poll. Not working. Oh. Shashikiran Reddy also states that poll is not working in his mobile. Shashikiran, it is your headache, not my headache, because I can't control your device. So most of the other people have got the poll. You did not get the poll. So something wrong. My sincere suggestion is uninstall and install again what is there. Okay, right. Now, right. Because I do not what you call I am not judging or I am not having anything against you, but I only doubt to myself. I sometimes get a doubt whether I am telling to myself. Okay, so I will be happy if in between you answer my poll. I will be happy that you are listening the other side. Okay, right. Next. By seeing the GST number, we can say to which state that fellow belongs. If my GST number start with 37, if my GST number start with 37, I am registered in Andhra Pradesh. I want to sell goods to you. Your GST number start with 36, Telangana. If I am selling goods by seeing your GST number, immediately I will decide as to what tax I should charge. You came to me for purchase of goods. I asked you what is your GST number. You gave me the GST number 36. What should I charge? I should charge IGST or CGST, AGST for you? Sorry?
Telangana.
My number is 37. Your number is 36.
IGST.
I should charge IGST. By seeing the number itself, I can decide as to what I should charge you. Okay, right. Every person in his registration certificate, that fellow, he should take a print on green paper, and he should display that certificate at a prominent place in place of principal place of business as well as additional place of business. What is the effective date of registration? If I have applied within 30 days from my becoming liable for GST or registration, then the date on which I become liable will be the effective date of registration. Now, I hate Modi ji's beard. So, I don't apply within time. What happened? I became liable for registration on 1st of April. Within 30 days, I should go for registration. But I hate that beard. So what I have done, I don't want to register within 30 days. I registered in June. I registered in June and granted registration on 1st August. Now my effective date of registration will be 1st of August. But if I would have applied for registration on 25th of April, that is within 30 days from the date of my becoming liable for registration, then my effective date of registration will be 1/4. Sugam Services Limited is engaged in taxable supply of service in the Madhya Pradesh. Turnover exceeded 20 lakhs on 1st of November. Now, 1st of November means 30 days. You should calculate. Then I will go for Excel. Because I have the luxury of Excel. Now, for you, in examination, you will not be having the luxury of Excel at your disposal. Then how to calculate 30 days? Your headache, not my headache. Okay. So 1st of November 2020. What is 30 days? Is equal to
1st of December.
this plus this. 1st of December. 1st of December. Okay. Will be the 30 days. Will be the 30 days. Okay. For you to be visible in a better manner, I have maximized that. Or I have increased the font size. So it is liable to be got registered by 1st of December. It applies for registration on 28th November and granted certificate of registration on 5th December. Now what will be the effective date? Because within 30 days this fellow has applied for registration. Though registration is given on 5th December, but the effective date written in that will be 1st of November. Now this fellow also don't like that beard. So he applied on 3rd December. Certificate of registration is granted on 10th December. So registration is given on 10th December. So effective date of registration will be 10th December. Effective date of registration will be 10th December. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the next illustration. We'll move on to the next illustration. Determine the effective date of registration under CGST Act in respect of the following cases with the proper explanation. With the proper explanation. Now, my dear friends, let me try and find out from you whether all of you are preparing whatever is told on that day. Are you preparing notes? Yes or no? How many of you are preparing? Because when I tell you, it will be good for you for listening. Okay, it may be nice to hear the class. But once the class is completed, whatever has gone in from this side will go out from this side. Okay, then you will not be able to recollect anything. So as I told you, on the first day itself, what you need to do is, for each and every day class what I have told you, you should prepare the notes. Okay. Also, tomorrow when you come to the class, for you the class starts at 3:15. Whatever I am going to tell today, you go through. Whatever I told you yesterday, you just browse. And you listen to me. And after class is completed, at least spare half an hour every day. At least spare half an hour every day to prepare notes for what has been told in the class that day. Okay, then only it will be useful for you. Then only it will be useful for you. Hello? Hello. మరి నేను పొద్దున్న రాలేకపోయాను. రాత్రికి ఇంటికి వెళ్ళేప్పుడు వస్తా. 8:30కి ఉంటారా? వస్తా, అప్పుడు వస్తా. Right. So, having said that, let me again go into the class, because in between I should tell you all these things periodically, because you have a tendency of forgetting of what I have told you previously. Then on the last day you may ask me, sir, you never told us in the class that we should write notes. So what I will do is, in between I will remind you to write notes. You should not feel that you have already told to write notes. What are we small kids? Every time you will tell like that. Don't feel like that. Okay. Right. Now let me go to the next example. The aggregate turnover of Varun Industries Mumbai has exceeded 40 lakhs on 1st August. Varun Industries manufactures LED TV, sells in Pune, Mumbai, Pune, Mumbai, Pune, Mumbai, Pune. Mumbai is in which state?
Maharashtra.
Very good. Pune is in which state?
Maharashtra.
Very good. Intra. It submits application on 20th August. Registration certificate is 25th August. What is the effective date of registration?
1st August.
1st of August. Very good. Now, your answer is right. But what this fellow is telling, you have to give proper explanation. As per section 22 of the CGST Act, every person should apply for registration in every state from where he supplies taxable supply of goods or service or both, where the aggregate turnover exceeds the threshold limit. Threshold limit for different states is different. Threshold limit for the special category states 4. As per constitution, there are 11 special category states, but as per section 22, 7 are not special category states for the purpose of determining the threshold limit. So only 4 are left as a special category states. For them, threshold limit is 10 lakhs. For all others, threshold limit is 20 lakhs. The government has the power, based upon the recommendation or request made by the state governments, to enhance the limit from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs in case of special category states. In case of others, 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs, subject to conditions and limitations and restrictions. Maharashtra state has enhanced the limit from 20 to 40. What is the condition? This fellow is engaged in exclusive supply of goods intrastate. Exclusive supply of goods, that to intrastate. So this fellow is eligible for enhanced threshold limit of 40 lakhs. This fellow is eligible for enhanced threshold limit of 40 lakhs. Point number 1. This fellow has to get himself registered within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable for registration. This fellow crossed 40 lakhs on 1st of August. He is liable for registration within 30 days from 1st of August. He applied for registration on 20 August, which is before 30 days. Now, though he has been granted registration on 25th of August, the effective date of registration will be the date on which he becomes liable for registration. In this case, it being 1st of August. So 1st of August is the effective date of registration. Whatever I told you is a proper explanation for this answer. The answer 1st of August is straight away correct. But we have to quote all these provisions. The same analogy will apply to Shweta Infotech also. Service provider, internet services, Pune. The aggregate turnover 20 lakhs. Though this Shweta Infotech services is in Maharashtra, Pune, if you are supplying services, the threshold limit is only 20 lakhs. The turnover exceeds 20 lakhs on 25th of September. Submits application on 27th October. What happened to Shweta Infotech services? Can anyone tell me? What happened to Shweta Infotech services? Can anyone tell me?
It is liable to be registered.
Sorry? What happened to Shweta Infotech services? Can anyone tell me? When did they become liable to register?
25th September.
25th September. When did they register? When did they apply for registration?
27th October.
Why? They did not like Modi ji's beard. So they applied on 27th October. Now, why am I repeating every time? So that you will be in a position to remember that. Since they have not applied within the time limit, the effective date will be the date on which registration is granted. So the effective date is 5th of November. It is the effective date of registration. Okay. 1st August and 5th of November. We will move on to the next provision. Special provisions for grant of registration in case of non-resident taxable person, casual taxable person. For casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person, there are special provisions for registration. Now, first of all, before understanding the special provisions applicable to non-resident taxable person and casual taxable person, first of all, we should understand whom do you mean by casual taxable person? Whom do you mean by non-resident taxable person? First, you should know that. Then only you will be able to appreciate why special provisions are applicable for them. Whom do you mean by casual taxable person? CGST Act defines a casual taxable person as a person who occasionally undertake transactions involving supply of goods or service or both in the course or furtherance of business, whether as principal, agent or in any other capacity, in a state where he has no fixed place of business. Further, he cannot exercise the option to pay tax under composition levy. So, casual taxable person has no fixed place of business in that state or union territory. This fellow occasionally undertakes the transactions in the course or furtherance of business. This is important here. In the course or furtherance of business. So this fellow occasionally supply as a business, but he has no fixed or permanent place of business in that state. That fellow will register himself as a casual taxable person in that state. What is the special provision? This casual taxable person will be granted registration only for the time given in the application or 90 days from the date of registration, whichever is earlier. It can be further extended by a period of 90 days. This fellow has to get himself registered at least 5 days before the commencement of business. This fellow should pay the tax in advance. If you want a registration extension, it can be done only for a period of again another 90 days. But to do the extension again, he should deposit the tax. Why? To collect a tax from him after he has made the supply, he may not be available to you. By that time, this fellow might have went away. I am a big businessman in Vijayawada. Every time you come to my shop, it will be full of customers. I have no time even to drink water, to drink coffee, to eat meals. Because all the time my shop is full of customers. Because I sell such products which are of high demand. Whatever product I sell, very high demand. They will buy only from me. Now I heard that in Hyderabad High-Techs, an exhibition is going to be held for 5 days. I am registered in Andhra Pradesh. My shop is in Andhra Pradesh. Very high demand for my product. I came to know that in Hyderabad High-Techs, an exhibition is being conducted where businessmen like me can come and exhibit their product. Now I want to come to Hyderabad with some goods. I will exhibit my product in Hyderabad High-Techs exhibition so that I will get new customers. If someone come and select my product, I will sell it to him. Every person has to get registered within 30 days for making in every state from where that fellow makes a taxable supply. If I come to Hyderabad with my goods and I am making taxable supply from Hyderabad, I should get myself registered. I don't have a permanent place of business in Hyderabad. I don't be there in Hyderabad forever. I will be there only for 5 days. Exhibition is only for 5 days. I will stay in Hyderabad only for 5 days. After that, I should get back to my shop in Vijayawada. Now I will apply as a casual taxable person in the state of Telangana. I will apply as a casual taxable person in the state of Telangana. In the application, I will tell KCR sir, I want registration only for 6 days. My registration will be valid for 6 days from the date of registration or 90 days from the date of registration, whichever is earlier. I don't want registration for more than 5 days. Why I am there? I will be there only for 5 days in the exhibition. That is casual taxable person registration. he has to register before he commences the business there. Before I go to the exhibition, 5 days prior to the date of exhibition, I should get myself registered. I estimate that I will be making a turnover of 1 crore. My tax rate is 12%. I should pay 12 lakhs as GST. Then only I will be granted registration. Whatever tax is there, they will ask me to pay. Then only they will give me registration. So this is casual taxable person. Krishnadev and Co. engaged in supplying taxable goods is registered in Rajasthan, wishes to participate in 5-day business exhibition in Delhi. He does not have a fixed place of business in Delhi, then he can go for casual taxable person registration in Delhi. Whom do you mean by a non-resident taxable person? Who is a foreigner, occasionally want to make taxable supply in any state in India, then he should have GST registration. He should register in the state from where he seeks to supply. Whom do you mean by non-resident taxable person? Any person who occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods or service or both, whether principal or agent or in any other capacity, but who has no fixed place of business or residence in India. He can't be a composition dealer. Now I will put a test for you. We have gone through the meaning of casual taxable person. We have gone through the meaning of non-resident taxable person. Both of them can't go for composition scheme. Both of them do not have a fixed place of business in the state from where they are going to affect the taxable supply. Can you, any one of you, identify the difference between casual taxable person and a non-resident taxable person? Any one difference?
Non-resident is
casual taxable person has a physical place of business in India, but
both of them do not have physical presence. Both of them do not have a permanent place of business or fixed place of business in the state from where they are going to make taxable supply. Both of them don't have. But still there is a difference between both of them.
In the course or furtherance of business.
Very good. In the course or furtherance of business. In the course or furtherance of business. Very good. That is the correct difference. Casual taxable person supplies in the course or furtherance of business. Then only he requires registration. Non-resident taxable person, if he wants to supply, requires registration if supply is made whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. Whether or not in the course or furtherance of business, registration is required. Okay. What are the special provisions relating to the non-resident taxable person? They should apply for registration at least 5 days. Registration is granted for a period of this. There is a time limit for which registration is being granted. That time limit we have already discussed. 5 days prior to commencement of business, must have PAN. Generally, every person who is going for registration should have PAN. For casual taxable person, PAN is required. But for non-resident, he will not have a PAN. He will be granted registration based on other documents. What are those documents? Passport. Valid passport is the prescribed document. Valid passport. And the application will be signed by authorized signatory who is an Indian resident having a valid PAN. Now that non-resident taxable person, if he want to supply in India, he should have a representative here. That representative must be an Indian. That fellow should have a PAN. Suppose the non-resident taxable person is not an individual but a company which is established outside India. John Inc. John Inc. is a company established outside India. It wanted to supply goods in Delhi. Okay. Now ITC also, for non-resident taxable person, ITC is blocked. Except there is one exception. Can anyone tell me? For non-resident taxable person, ITC is blocked. There is one exception. Can anyone recollect? Can anyone recollect that exception? Goods imported into India. IGST will be paid. That will be allowed as input credit. Barring that, no other credit is allowed. Fine. Okay. Of course, you are new to this subject. If you go through this subject some 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, you will be able to recollect. No problem. Okay. Right. Next. Now, if that non-resident person, if he is an individual, he should have an authorized representative here. That fellow should be an Indian, and that fellow should have a PAN. Now, if it is a business entity incorporated outside India, then that John Inc. will have a taxpayer identification number outside India given by that country that they have to quote, or they can, if they have PAN in India, they can quote that. Non-resident taxable person will have a different form for registration. But casual taxable person will go with the REG 1 only. For casual taxable person, he should have a PAN, and it is a PAN based registration. Having said that, what is the period of validity of registration? This already we have discussed many times. You have to apply before 5 days, and you can make taxable supply only when you get a registration. The validity of registration will be specified in the registration application or 90 days from the effective date of registration. It can be extended by 90 days, whichever is earlier. How to verify the application, how to grant the registration, rule number 9, 10 will apply to the application filed by the non-resident taxable person also. It will equally apply to the casual taxable person. Now this casual taxable person or a non-resident taxable person have to make advance deposit of tax. How much they have to pay? Estimated liability. I told you, I want to participate in an exhibition in Hyderabad. I am estimating that I will be able to sell around 1 crore value of goods. My rate of tax is 12%. Then I should pay 12 lakhs as a GST, advance payment. Now, before registration is granted, based on the temporary reference number, I will get a temporary reference number to make advance deposit of tax. With that number, I have to pay. The tax will be got credited in my electronic cash ledger. Now, receipt of application acknowledgement will be given to me only when I pay the deposit. Unless I pay the deposit, I don't even get the acknowledgement for application also. I will not get the acknowledgement for application also. Now, suppose first time I was granted 90 days. I went in for an extension. Now, if they need to grant me extension, then again, I should estimate the tax liability for the extended period. I should estimate the liability of tax for the extended period. If I pay that only, I will get the extension. Next comes number 26, section number 26, deemed registration. Deemed registration. If I have been granted a registration under SGST, it is deemed that I am granted registration under CGST. If my application is rejected under SGST, it is deemed that my application is rejected under the SGST also. If my application is rejected under SGST, it is deemed that my application is rejected under the CGST also. If I am granted a registration under the SGST, I am deemed to have been granted registration under CGST only also. Meaning by there will be a single registration for all types of taxes, be it CGST, be it SGST, be it IGST, be it UTGST, or be it CESS. Next, moving forward, amendment of registration. Amendment of registration. At the time of registration, in REG1, there is part A and part B. In REG1, there is part A and part B. Part A, we have mobile number, email ID, PAN number, what is the type of taxpayer, etc. Part B, you have your name, legal name, what type of business you are going to do, what is your address, do you have any other registrations under any other law for time being in force, what is the HSM code of products you will be dealing with, do you have any additional places of business, what is this your jurisdiction, and so on and so forth. Those informations I have to fill. Now what happened? There is a change in any of the information. Whatever I have given in the registration application information, divided into two categories. One is core field, another one is non-core field. In the registration, whatever information I have given is classified into two categories. One is core field, another one is non-core field. What are core fields? Name of the business, PAN number, addition or deletion of stakeholders, principal place of business, additional place of business. These are core fields. What are they? Name of the business, PAN number, addition or deletion of stakeholders, place of business, additional place of business. These are the 5 core fields. All others are non-core fields. All others are non-core fields. If there is a change in the core field, then you have to apply for amendment within 15 days of the event of change. Within next 15 days, proper officer will sanction. Okay. For core field, you have to apply within 15 days of the occurrence of change. Within 15 days from your application, the proper officer has to dispose of the application, either to accept or reject, or give a notice seeking additional clarification, information, or documents. For non-core fields, no need of authorization or approval by the proper officer is required. You can make an application in the common portal for yourself and you will get automatic approval. You will get automatic approval. So friends, what we will do is we will continue our session in our next class, that will be on Monday. Okay. So for today, we will log off.